Jackson. He is my co-host, Jared, the Agent, Nyland. Welcome to another fun Wednesday night on 12 Ounce Sports and Zingo TV, channel 761. We got a fun show tonight. We got Jake Iggy coming on the show at 8:30. He is from Iggy Sports Talk. We're going to talk a lot of NFL with him. Jared and I, of course, got the question segment to start off the show. We're going to talk a lot of football, a lot of college football, a lot of NFL. It's going to be an exciting night here on 12 Ounce Sports from 8 to 9:30. We know we got Game 2 of the World Series going on, so if you don't mind having us on for a couple minutes while you're watching Game 2 of the World Series, we very much appreciate it. I now bring in the man we call the Agent, Mr. Jared Nyland. Jared, how are we doing, buddy?
Oh, doing well, JP. Doing well. Glad we could get back on the air this week and do another show together. And yeah, I'm gonna be a fun time. Sports, I feel like are in kind of really full swing now and everything like that. The NFL's just rolling along. Baseball's wrapping up. So it's been a good time, and so yeah, let's go.
Maybe a very underrated opinion, but I'm still kind of just in a good mood, happy, shocked that the NBA and NHL were able to finish their seasons. And now with Major League Baseball, most likely, fingers crossed, knock on wood, they're going to finish their season too. That's really remarkable to where we were in the sports landscape in May and June.
Yeah, it was definitely crazy. I feel like at the beginning of all of it, we definitely saw all the leagues, they're going to come back, a couple weeks, couple months or whatnot, but it'll get in. And then it got kind of to a darker, grayer area where we didn't know if we were going to crown any champions, over the summer or anything like that. But definitely glad to see it done, and I want to see the Dodgers finally get a ring, too. I think that'd be a nice way to wrap up the baseball season.
I hate all those teams that are always in the championships and don't win. Like, this happened before we were born, but the Bills to go to 4 straight Super Bowls and not win, that has to be just a miserable experience to go through. I generally just feel bad for anyone in that experience.
Yeah, it would get mentally tough, I feel like. Like, it just would be like, really, again? Like, maybe the first time, sure, you lose. Like, as a Lions fan, I'd be thrilled if we got to a Super Bowl. Would it suck that if we were to lose? Sure, but at least we got there, right? Second time, oh, that was still pretty fun. Would have been nice to win this time. But if it happens like a third time, you're just like, why am I watching this team? Like, this is stupid. So, definitely mentally draining, that would be.
You know what's funny? You look at it now that LeBron has 4 rings and he's won 4 championships, and that's really impressive. But he's also lost 6 championships. How many people lose 6 championships? I mean, I'm pretty sure there's like really good golfers who have never lost and gotten second in 6 championships. That's like an amazing thing that's happened.
Yeah. Actually, just a fun fact here: Jack Nicklaus has 19 runner-ups in majors. So, just an example. I feel like that's kind of a statistic towards like LeBron. Yeah, 6 times. Like, that's tough. And I mean, it's one of the things that I feel like dogs LeBron. But you got to think of some of those teams he played against, man. Like Golden State, like especially that last year wasn't winning that one. He went up against some serious Spurs teams back when he was with Cleveland. So I feel like for every player, it's a little bit of it's got to be a little bit bittersweet, but like there's definitely some sweet still in there. Like you had a good run, you got to the championship, but it's tough still though. 6 times is a lot. So,
well, I mean, kind of a weird way to start the show because we're going to talk a lot of football, but I guess in my thought process, the only championship he lost that I guess would kind of be detrimental to his career as the best basketball player to ever play the game was against the Mavericks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But other than that, he's always lost to really great teams.
Yeah. I mean, and then I think the one argument would still be with the Heat when they lost to the Spurs. I think that could be one, too, where I feel like they should have been the one winning that when Kawhi kind of stepped up for the Spurs and took them home the championship. I feel like that was the only other one that I would be like, yeah, they could have gotten that one. But that one was still way more difficult, I think, than the Mavs series. So,
all right, we'll cut it out with our LeBron cheerleading because, I mean, it's just going to get old eventually. So we'll go to the question segment. Jared and I have a list of questions we really need each other to ask to start the show. Then we'll have Jake Iggy join us at 8:30 for a full NFL kind of blitz conversation. Then I got something fun at 9 o'clock. I got one of these lists. Jared's made a couple lists, and he's been great at them, actually. I believe since our last show, you've had another NFL head coach get fired who you said deserved to get fired.
I believe so. Yeah. Both were on the list, so we got a good roll there. Did I put that on this sheet? Hold on. I did not. I'll have to dig it out of the grave to see exactly who I had, because I definitely forget a couple of them. But yeah, I mean, do you feel like it's this early in the year we see this many coaches fired? Like, I feel like you maybe get one this early on, but two back to back just seems like a lot.
When you're 0-5 and have Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley, Todd Gurley, and Julio Jones, yeah.
Oh, that's fair.
You got fired.
No, that's fair. I'm just saying it's a lot of coaches already.
Yeah, and to look at the other side of it, I think the Houston Texans are just in a terrible spot, and
Oof.
Deshaun's really going to have to get them out of that terrible spot. So, am I surprised it's those two? No. I mean, I'm not surprised it's three. I guess they're just going way deep. The Jets are with Gase. They're like, you know what? We're just going to go the rest of the season.
You know what it is? It just came to my mind. They're keeping them to ensure they get Trevor Lawrence. That's got to be it. Well, what other reason?
What else is there?
Although
how does he have a job?
I did see somewhere today on the social media world that there was one analyst, I believe, that was a former player. He says Trevor should just go back if the Jets have the first pick. So we'll throw that rumor out there already, like Joe Burrow last year. But we'll just always throw that out for a player. I feel like every 2-3 years there's a player that should go back or refuse to play for a team. We got that situation again.
Right, but like, I'm giving it like 3-1 odds that it's the Jets again.
Dude, it's got to be the Jets. They win one game tops. Tops.
I'm saying, okay, so Trevor Lawrence goes, first pick is the Jets. I'm not doing it. I'm gonna try to avoid them and go for like a graduate year in college or go for my last year in college.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be the Jets again in 2 years.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I mean, it could be, but you can try, I guess. I don't know. I get your point now, though.
I think it's just gonna be
That's fair. That is a fair point.
So he might as well just go to the Jets. I mean, who knows? Maybe the Jets could get 2 wins. I mean, it's something where we have in this question segment that we're going to start off with in a little bit, but there are 10 teams that have 1 or 0 wins.
Yeah.
There's 32 in the NFL. How do you have 10 teams after 6 weeks that have 1 win?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's because you're seeing you're seeing the type of trades in the NFL that you just didn't see 5-10 years ago. 5-10 years ago, the Jets never ship off Jamal Adams to the Seahawks for picks. You just didn't see that. And it's almost, in a way, starting to turn out to be like baseball, where teams are going to rack up draft picks and rack up prospects, and they're willing to get rid of their superstar player to do it because they realize that there's maybe some value. So I don't think you're actually going to see as many middle-of-the-road teams, because a middle-of-the-road team with a really good player in a position, like top player in his position, they're just going to ship him off to get worse and get more draft picks to then be better in the future when they have a more solid foundation.
But I mean, it's kind of ridiculous though. Like weeks ago, and probably still now, as Detroit Lions fans, we were hoping they'd tank and get a good pick. If the draft was today, they'd pick 12th, and they're 2-3.
See, you know what? And that's why I know you wanted them to lose the Jaguars, but in my mind, but here's the thing. And if it's for Patricia and Quinn, you can make that argument. But if you're strictly arguing that because of a draft pick, it's not the time to do it. Like, you might as well root for them to win, because they're never, like, unless the entire team explodes or gets COVID, they're never going to be as bad as, let's say, the Jets or the Jaguars. Like, it's not possible. Not going to happen. So that's why I'm back on the train of, well, let's go Lions and see what happens.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And I can't disagree with you. But I didn't want them to tank for the draft pick. I mean,
No, I
did,
know. That's
but
why I
I understand what
excluded
you're
people
saying.
like you.
I generally just wanted the head coach to get fired. I think it's an embarrassment to humanity in the United States of America that Matt Patricia has a job.
No, it
And it's a
is,
high-paying
but
job.
here's the thing. Let me throw this by you at least. Like,
Okay.
what is wrong? Like, if the Lions can end up going 10-6, well, what's that bad about Patricia? They went 10-6. Now they're probably not going to, and I get your
They're not
point.
going
But I'm
10-6.
just saying, like, why not root for them to get to 10-6? Because, well, at least something's working. Like, we're winning games. So
I just generally have a negative atmosphere of attitude. They're not going 10-6. So I could care less about that.
no, you're probably right. But you also have the mindset where if they win 5 games, they stay, and I just disagree with that. But
well, that's a whole Detroit topic. We gotta get into our question segment because it's more of a national show on 12 Ounce Sports and Zingo TV, channel 761. This is James and the Agent. I'm James A. Paxson. He's Jared, the Agent Nyland. I'll start off because we already kind of talked about it, and I'd like you to finish it off. Jared, is the NFL in danger of becoming a top-heavy league? What I mean by that is the league just going to be similar to what the NBA is? You know, you had 5 teams that were good and nobody else could get in. Kind of like you said with Major League Baseball. You know, the Dodgers have been to 3 World Series in the last 4 years. Is the NFL in danger of becoming a top-heavy league?
I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because I think in football especially, you could have any day of the week a 7-9 team beat a 12-4 team. Like, it's possible. Like, you saw it this weekend, or this past weekend, where, you know, the Chiefs lose to, excuse me, not this past weekend, the weekend before, where they lose to the Raiders. Like, you don't see that coming, and that's probably the best team in the league. And they drop a game to where a team, they might go 8-8, 9-7, 10-6 maybe, somewhere in there, right? So I don't I think there's enough teams that are going to at least win 7-8 games to where it'll keep the league competitive, and then you're going to get to the playoffs and those top teams are going to battle. So I'm going to say no on the fact that I think any team could win just about any week if they do it correctly, if they do things correctly.
Fair enough. Go to your first question, buddy.
All right, JP. Who is a team, funny enough, at 2-4 or worse, who you still think can make the playoffs?
I mean, it's a pretty obvious answer. It's going to be the Eagles or the Cowboys, and it's strictly because of the division they're in, and they're both injured teams that could maybe do better once they get healthier. I don't know. I mean, I say it because they could win their division at 6-10. So
okay, what? Sorry to cut you off. What about other than the Eagles and Cowboys? Not just because it's a bad division.
I mean, it sounds really dumb, but I don't want to cut Atlanta out.
Okay.
I mean, they have an amazing offense, and I generally think that, you know, they're one of those teams, like, I don't know if you remember this, or people generally know this. A couple of years ago, when the Colts were the 6th seed, and they beat the Texans, who were the 3 seed in the playoffs. You know what I'm talking about with Andrew Luck?
Yep.
They were 1-5, and decided to go to the playoffs, and they just kept winning games. I think they lost 1 game and became 10-6. So they were able to go 9-1 for the rest of their year. And if you're not going to make me do it on division, why can't Atlanta do it? They're playing the Lions this weekend, then they'd be 2-5, and they're a team with a great offense. So, I mean, if Julio stays healthy, if the offense can keep rolling, I don't see why they couldn't. I mean, I don't think any team that has 1 win right now, or 0, I'll count the Jets. I don't think the 10 teams that have 1 win or 0 wins have a chance at the playoffs. But if you're going to make me pick one where it's not in the NFC East, I guess it would be Atlanta. I mean, who else would you consider?
Who else? I mean, Minnesota could be one of those teams that 1-5 too. I mean, I know they've looked atrocious, but you feel like they at least have the talent. The division's tough, but Chargers with Herbert look a lot better than they did before, and they have a more explosive offense, it seems, so they could get on a roll. So I'd probably lean somewhere in there. I feel like an obvious pick could be Houston, but I just don't see them turning it around. So I'll say the Chargers or the Vikings would be my two.
I think we got to stop with that Vikings thing, man.
I know, man. I don't want to talk about it, but I don't know. I mean, they should be good. I don't understand it. Kirk Cousins is awful, and yeah, I don't know. But hey, real quick, I wanted to add one point on to your Falcons. You mentioned Lions, and then possibly they got the Panthers and Broncos, so they could get a little hot. But listen to the ending of this schedule: Saints, Raiders, Saints, Chargers, Bucks, Chiefs, Bucks. Ooh, that's a tough ending stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I generally don't know how they're going to play. They could lose to the Lions, but is it fair to say that team could still go 8-8?
Oh, they could. I'm just saying, like it's tough down the stretch. That's for sure. So I just noticed it. So
No, I appreciate you for pointing it out. Look, I don't think any of these teams, besides the Eagles and the Cowboys, who have 2 wins or 1 win, has a legitimate shot at the playoffs. Maybe the New England Patriots is the only one I'd put in there when it's not involved in the NFC East. But I just think the Falcons are one of those teams. Their offense is really good, and their offense has put up really good numbers this year. But they've given up leads, and their defense hasn't been great. I mean, it's kind of amazing when you lose a game and you score 39 points. That's really unbelievable. So
yeah.
I'm gonna go Atlanta.
Okay.
You brought up Houston. I just don't see them winning much.
No, that's what I was saying. I don't either.
I think they have a good team. I still think Deshaun Watson is an amazing quarterback, but something about that team is they're going to have a really, really bad year, and we're going to see what a part of their team is going to survive this really, really bad year.
Who are they going to take in the first round with their high pick? That's right. That'll be Miami.
The Dolphins are probably gonna use it.
All right, next question.
All right, can we still call the Chicago Bears bad at 5-1?
Sadly, I don't think so. But I mean, there's definitely arguments out there. So I'm gonna say no. But there's definitely arguments to be had because they don't win games by much, but they win. So it's at the end of the day, it's one of those things like, I mean, 4 points, 4 points, 4 points, 8 points, 1 point, 7 points, at the end. Like, they haven't won by more than one possession yet. So I think that's a little tough. And I think you're going to see it where, like, if this team makes it to the playoffs, I feel like they're almost like the Packers of this year, of last year's Packers, but this year. Because they're going to get in maybe 10-6, 11-5, let's say, at this point, and you're going to be like, they are the worst, 10-5, 11-16. And they're just going to hit a team that's much more, they're going to run into a team that's just much more talented overall. And they're going to get beat pretty handedly, and that'll probably be the end of the Bears in the playoffs. But no, I'm going to say no. Definitely not great, but I don't think you can say bad.
I mean, it's kind of, I'm at this point. I don't think they've played great football yet, and they're still 5-1. So what happens when they start playing really good football?
Well, they might not. That's the problem.
They might not, but you look at it, and that silly Nick Foles quote that was just really weird that he said where, bad teams win with prettiness and good teams just win no matter what. He was kind of right, even though the communication and the words were really bad. His team is winning. His team beat the Bucks on Thursday Night Football, and I thought they were awful. That game was so bad.
Yeah.
But they won, and they beat the Bucks. And that's the same Bucks team who just won 38-10 against an undefeated Green Bay Packers team. So I'm starting to think that as much as I thought the Bears were going to be bad, and I thought Chicago was just going to be one of those teams that was just a bottom half of the NFL, they're clearly going to be a playoff team. But what's going to happen to them in the playoffs is your kind of good giant question.
Yeah, agreed. Also, big test, Rams, Saints, Titans next 3 weeks. Let's see it.
Rams, Saints, Titans. This is the Bears?
Yep.
Oh, God, they could easily be 5-4, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Tough schedule ahead. Alrighty, JP. Switch it up a little bit from football. We'll throw in a random one here. What are your thoughts on Kershaw's performance last night?
I thought he was great. I was so impressed with Kershaw as somebody who struggles in the postseason and gets a lot of slack on it. People really give it to him when he can't coach. He can't.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been able to do well in the postseason. He had 8 strikeouts. He actually had 2 very good defensive plays, and I thought his command was just great. He had such great command. He was really good. He was a great starter. I was really impressed with him, and that's exactly what the Dodgers needed coming out of the gate. I'm never going to be worried about the LA Dodgers offense. You have Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, Justin Turner, Max Muncy, Corey Seager, Will Smith. I mean, all guys who can hit well for the LA Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I'm so shocked that they haven't won one yet, and it's mainly because of pitching and, Clayton Kershaw's postseason woes and relief pitching. So I was really impressed with them. I can see him having another great World Series game. Game 2 is on right now. Tampa's up 1-0. It's going to be interesting to see where this series goes with the great offense that the Dodgers have, and now they're going to have great pitching. I don't know how they're going to be able to get beat.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And then who overall? What are you saying? So you're thinking the Dodgers win the series pretty easily then?
Yeah, I've been on that, since I want to say it was like 3-2 with the Braves. I'm like, this team's going to win, and if they get in the World Series and play the Rays or the Astros, they're going to win this year. I think they're so overpowering. I think they're just way better than anyone anticipated, and they're one of the best teams in Major League Baseball and one of the best teams I've seen in years. And when you have like all of your hitters, connecting and doing great, I think they're going to win this one. I said Dodgers in 6 before the series. I do think the Rays are going to squeak out a win or two. I don't think the Rays are a terrible team. They're not where the Dodgers are.
Fair enough. All right, next question.
Jared, what can Derrick Rose offer an NBA team? I've heard 2 different teams that Derrick Rose could go to, who's a current Detroit Piston. He was really great with the Chicago Bulls. I think he's played on 4 or 5 different NBA teams now. What can he offer? Because I'm starting to think that he could be great as a bench role player. If you want him as a starting guard, I think you're asking too much for him. He's been brought up with the Lakers. I'm pretty sure LeBron James could make you look good in the NBA, and having Anthony Davis wouldn't hurt. But if he goes to the Lakers, is he going to offer him much more than the role players they have? If he goes to a team that's not the Lakers, I can imagine Derrick Rose being a backup guard for the Boston Celtics, when Kevin Walker comes out or Marcus Smart comes out. What do you think he can offer?
I think he can offer some electricity off the bench. And what I mean by electricity is it's gonna flash and it's gonna zap at certain points. And at other points it's just not really gonna be there. It's gonna be just a couple baskets here or there or anything like that. So I think he can come off the bench and let's say in a 20-game stretch, there might be 4 really good games off the bench in there. Really good games. But then there's going to be 10 or so okay games, and then there's going to be 4 really bad games, basically. So it's going to be something where he can come in and win you a game every once in a while, but he's not going to do it consistently, basically. And I don't think any team should shy away from signing him. I think he's a good signing because I think he's a good bench player. You're just not going to see consistent good play from him whatsoever. And you're going to see some flashes where he probably drops like 25 off the bench or something, or 20 off the bench. And it's going to be the, old D-Rose back on Twitter type of stuff. But you're just not going to get that consistently by any means. So I think it's a good signing for any team, and he's going to be basically really probably their best bench player overall. And I think he's a good signing, but he's just not going to bring what you think, I would say. So.
All right, I kind of agree with you on all parts there. It's just I'm interested to see where he's going to go. Go ahead with your third question.
All right, JP. So should leagues be done with lotteries? I know this is a really random question, but was looking at some NBA stuff with the draft, coming up here in the near future. It got me thinking again. Should lotteries not be a thing in professional sports?
I'm not really passionate either way. I think generally the lottery was built so you don't have the same teams getting the number 1 pick. But I think overall, I would be okay if they were gone. I think if you have the worst record, then you deserve the number one pick. So I'd be fine if they abolished all lotteries.
All right, next question.
Final one for you before we get to Jake Iggy and we talk some NFL here. Jared, your thoughts on the Washington football team not being creative enough to find a nickname? They think they're going to be the Washington football team for the rest of this season and next season. I'm just curious if you had like a laugh or a funny thing to say with that, because I'm generally just laughing that, it seems like in the very worst way, they just aren't creative at all. And they're like, you know what? If you're not going to let us have our racist mascot name, then it looks like we're not going to think of any name possible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it just seems kind of dumb. Like in the grand scheme of things, it just seems weird. It's kind of stupid. I feel like you said, oh, the Washington football team down the field. Like it just like it doesn't ring. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't feel right. And it's like just pick a name and go with it. Like, is it really that difficult? Like, I get the common ones are gone, but like, really, you can't come up with anything. I mean, you're in Washington D.C. I mean, Capitals or well, they're Washington Capitals already, but like something along, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It feels like you have a lot to work with, and you're just not doing anything with it. So
Go ahead and ask your question real quick before we get to Jake Iggy. He's going to be having some fun with some football talk with us for 30 minutes from 8:30 to 9, but go ahead and finish up here.
So I know we touched on this a little bit, but JP, who takes the NFC East? Cowboys lead it at 2-4. Man, oh man, is that bad?
I'll start off by saying it's completely wide open. I wouldn't be surprised if any 14 wins. As bad as the Cowboys looked Monday night, I still think the Cowboys are going to win this division. I think here's why. I think their skill players are good enough to do it. And I think when you put Dallas against Philadelphia, Dallas wins. I think when you put Dallas against Washington, Dallas wins. I think when you put Dallas against the Giants, Dallas wins.
Mm-hmm.
I say that mainly because tomorrow night, it wouldn't surprise me if the Giants win or the Eagles win. And I think Dallas is just going to command the division. I mean, they're going to win it at 7-9 or 6-10, regardless if it's Dallas, Philly, New York, or Washington. I'm going to go with the Cowboys. Who's your pick for NFC East?
I'd probably say Cowboys too. Eagles have a chance if Wentz can get a little bit better and they get healthy, but flip a coin. Eagles, Cowboys. Let's see what happens.
I mean, the Eagles. It was really detrimental for them, in my personal opinion, that they didn't win that Bengals game. I mean, it was in overtime. They had the 10 minutes of overtime to do it. They could have tried to get down the field, and they decided to go for the tie. And I understand how the tie is kind of helping them, but they could be 2-4 right now too if they found a way to beat the Bengals.
Yeah, I don't think the tie is really helping them by any means. I think it can come back to actually hurt them quite a bit moving forward. So.
Absolutely. This is 12-Ounce Sports, Zingo TV, channel 761. That's Jared, the agent, Nyland. I'm James A. Paxson. We're going to be bringing in Jake Iggy right now from Iggy Sports Talk. He is an incredibly smart guy. He knows his football. He is here to talk a lot of NFL with us. Jake, what's going on, buddy?
How's it going, James? I really appreciate having me on the show.
Yeah, man. You know your football. You and I have talked a lot on the Sports Me app and over text about some football going on, some NFL going on. I know you're a big Boston guy, so we're gonna get into the Patriots a little bit later. I'm guessing you got a lot of thoughts about New England.
Yeah, I got a good amount of thoughts, especially after this past week when everybody was really just down on them, and it really seemed like just because they had that week off and nobody was talking about them for that 1 week that they needed to fill up that time through that Patriots time and really find a way to find something wrong with that Patriots team.
Well, to be fair, they haven't looked great, but also they're not completely out of things.
Right.
And
100%.
I think the COVID problems they had. I mean, other teams have had a practice squad player or like a public relations member get COVID. They had the defensive player of the year and their starting quarterback get COVID. It's one of the worst types of situations that they've been in. So now they got to figure out how to get their team back with Cam Newton now playing and Stephon Gilmore now playing. I'm guessing, You don't want to say that Belichick's in trouble without Brady right now, do you?
I honestly don't. Just because I'm a huge believer that it's all about the system. Belichick has built that system over the last 20 years, and that's one of the biggest reasons why they've been so successful these past 20 years. In my opinion, I honestly think that you can't really evaluate him just based off of these past 4 games. Even especially last game, I thought it was hysterical how all these analysts and all these fans were just coming out of the woodworks and just finding something wrong with Cam Newton's performance when they didn't really think about it. That the past week he's been dealing with the coronavirus, even though it's asymptomatic. Who knows what sort of symptoms or what sort of side effects he could have gotten from having COVID? I mean, we saw what happened with Eduardo Rodriguez with the Red Sox. And it's sort of something where it really frustrated me because he only practiced 3 days out of the 16 days that he could have practiced. And I said this on my radio show on Tuesday. I would love to see another quarterback get COVID. And obviously, I don't want to see another quarterback get COVID. But at the same time, somebody in his same situation, they get COVID. They only get 3 days that they get to practice. I would love to see how that person performs. I would love to see if they're able to win the game. You know what I mean? It's just something where everybody was just judging him out of just plain view when they didn't really look at the circumstances, in my opinion.
So do you think the offense looks a little bit better moving forward with the Patriots then? Hopefully more than 12 points like they scored against the Broncos.
I mean, quite honestly, I think that Josh McDaniels and the Patriots are still trying to figure out exactly how to mold Cam Newton with all these different weapons that they do have at the moment. Also, at the same time, I think it's hysterical as well that it's the same exact excuse that I have heard for the last 20 years. The Patriots have no weapons whatsoever. I just think that's hysterical because we haven't been able to see Julian Edelman at his full potential. I mean, we saw him one game go over 100 yards. We haven't seen this newly drafted Devin Asiasi from UCLA, who's supposed to be this star-studded tight end that nobody's really ever heard of. And it's something where I'm excited. I'm excited to see how this offense really molds itself and how McDaniels is able to become creative and find a way to get teams off balance and that sort of stuff. But compared to the first game, if I'm being quite honest, I was a little bit upset on how much Cam Newton ran the football. He threw the football 19 times and he ran the football 14 times. And I just looked at that and I was just not used to it. But he's done a lot better in these following games. He's been throwing 25 times and he's been rushing the ball 10, and he's been rushing it efficiently. And in that first game, it just seemed like there was a lot of times where when he didn't find a guy open or he didn't really feel like throwing it, he would just tuck under and just run. And it was something where I would rather have him just way back, try and see if he can find somebody open. But like we saw last game, I mean, the pressure got to him. So he had to find a way to be able to throw the ball as fast as he could. I mean, we saw he got sacked 4 times.
If you're the New England GM, what offer are you going to give to Julio Jones? Or are you not even thinking about that?
I mean, quite honestly, it's something where you can't really do a draft pick just because it's not like the Patriots ever have a very high value draft pick. If I'm being quite honest, potentially trade a young guy like N'Keal Harry or something like that. You know what I mean? Or potentially expiring contract. Or something. I'm having a hard time trying to think of specific names because the names that I'm thinking of, most of them are on the COVID list and they aren't here right now. So if I had to pick somebody who has an expiring contract, I mean, potentially even Dante Hightower. I mean, he's on the COVID list right now, but he has an expiring contract and it's going to be a lot of money. And it's something where you really need to look at the sort of finances that are going to be put on these different players down the line. I mean, how much are you going to pay Cam Newton? How much are you going to pay N'Keal Harry in 3 years? How much you know what I mean? And so it's something where I think you can see the Patriots go towards a young guy like N'Keal Harry, maybe throw in, maybe throw in a few future first-round picks. I mean, that's essentially what the Falcons are looking for. I mean, they're going to try and rebuild. I am really excited for that rebuild, if I'm being quite honest. Just to not only be able to see what they could get for Julio Jones and Matt Ryan, even though Matt Ryan is still 35, I still think that they could get a second round for Matt Ryan. I mean, maybe even better. But like, he's a really good. He's a very well played 35-year-old quarterback, in my opinion.
Moving on from sad Boston sports talk and sad New England Patriot fandom, you know, he's got a bad season for the first time since he's been born, so he's feeling a little depressed lately. Are the New York Jets the worst team to ever play in the National Football League, or are we just being over dramatic here?
I mean, when I looked at those other Browns and Lions teams that went 0-16, the players were the issue. In my opinion, this Jets team is, if you're looking solely at the overall team, the coaching staff, the players, you know, the front office, the decision making. I mean, the whole organization is just trash. I mean, it's as plain, as simple as that. I mean, it is so frustrating for me as just a sports fan. I'm one of those guys who's a huge fan of seeing those rebuilding teams. So as you know, James, I'm a big baseball guy. So I watched I was a big Astros fan in 2013, and then obviously after 2017, when all that stuff came out, I was like, well, that's not good. But I was a big Browns fan when they first started coming up, and you know, I was very excited with all the draft picks they had, with all the money they had. Same thing with the Jets. I mean, when you look at this Jets team, I mean, they've had a top 5 pick the last 5 years. In the last 3 years, they had a cap space over $80 million. So I don't understand. Like, it's all about the decision making. It's all about the player evaluation, and a huge blame goes to Adam Gase, in my opinion. I mean, it's just the preparation for teams. It's the development of Sam Darnold, and it's just also the relationships with the players. I mean, you've seen it time and time again. I mean, not even with the Jets. When you're looking at Adam Gase with the Dolphins. I mean, Jarvis Landry, Jay Ajayi. I mean, he had massive issues with both of those players, and now we're seeing it now with Le'Veon Bell, Jamal Adams. You know what I mean? And when I'm saying these names, it's crazy that I'm saying that the Jets just threw them on the open market and was like, anybody take them. At least for Le'Veon Bell, because I mean, when you look at them getting Jamal Adams, I mean, he's a generational talent just in terms of, you know, defense, safety. I mean, it's literally him and Jalen Ramsey right there in the top 5 in terms of safeties, in my opinion. And when you have those guys building blocks, and especially with a guy like Sam Darnold, I understand he had a lot of issues with turnovers. He had a lot of issues with his confidence. But when a coach doesn't give a kid confidence, when a front office does not give a kid weapons, I understand you gave him Jamison Crowder. I understand you gave him Le'Veon Bell. But give me a break. I mean, the kid needs help, not only on the offensive line. It's funny how the offensive line is always the vocal point for any young quarterback, because we're seeing it with Joe Burrow as well right now with the Bengals. But at the same time, with a guy like Sam Darnold, when you're making that kind of guy rush in the pocket and try to make a quick decision, when you have zero confidence whatsoever and zero weapons, I don't know how you're going to succeed. And the fact that everybody is saying the only way to fix this franchise is go on and get Trevor Lawrence, he's generational talent, trust me. But if they get Trevor Lawrence and they keep Adam Gase and they keep this front office and they keep this ownership, you're going to see the same exact thing for the next 4 years. I bet you that they'll win 2 more games. That's about it. That's all Trevor Lawrence can do. Trevor Lawrence can only do so much, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see him injured for at least like 1 to 2 seasons as well, because you just need to really look from the top to the bottom and just do a clean house. Because when the owner is calling Adam Gase an offensive genius, and it's funny enough when Mike Greenberg did a great job of really laying this out. So when the Jets made the whole decision to draft Sam Darnold, when the Jets made the decision to sign Le'Veon Bell, their owner and his son were on vacation and didn't realize what had happened 2 or 3 months prior in the most important time of their franchise's history of the last 10 years. It's just very unfortunate. And I feel like a Jets fan right now of how upset I'm getting with it. But I just feel bad, even as a Boston guy, I just feel bad for the New Yorker fans having to sit on their couch every single Sunday and be like, well, I guess we're going to lose. Like, I'll be ecstatic and surprised if we win. I mean, as a guy who has won 6 Super Bowls in 21 years with his Patriots team, acting like I'm on the team. But at the same time, like being able to go through that, I mean, you get cocky. You know what I mean? After that 6th Super Bowl, it didn't even feel like we won the Super Bowl. And so, like, being on the other side like that, especially watching the Red Sox this past year, I don't know how I don't know how Cleveland fans go through it. I don't know how New York fans go through it. You know,
Yeah. What about Detroit fans?
Yeah, get
It-
him a box.
yeah,
Give him a
come.
box of tissues.
Oh,
Says Red Sox didn't make
six
the playoffs
six
for the
Super
first time in
Bowl. I'm
107
sorry.
years.
Damn,
Yeah, I'm
6
sorry.
Super Bowls.
The
Oh,
season
that's
didn't
tough.
even feel like we won anything.
What? One playoff win, 65 years. Yeah, 6 Super Bowls must be nice. All right.
I'm serious. At my college, there was a whole riot after they won, and I'm like looking around. I'm like, wait, we just won the Super Bowl? I'm like, I mean, seriously, as a Patriots fan, if they did not get to the AFC Championship, it's like the season never happened.
JP, I thought we stopped talking sports with Justin.
AFC Championship. What'd you say?
No, you're good. JP, I thought we stopped talking sports with Justin Kent. What's going on here?
I don't know how in the world. It's like one every 5 guys we play fantasy with or watch football with, or we have a 12-ounce sports show on Zingo TV channel 761 brought to you by BetMyBookie and Amazon this week. It's like we find some Patriots lover out there. Like, this makes sense, though. He's from the area.
That's true.
I mean,
that's true.
I got Boston right there. You see what I got? That's a Patriots Super Bowl 53 picture right there. You know what I mean? I ain't no fake fan.
I thought it didn't count.
But at the same time, listen, if you have to sit through, I mean, you sat through that Super Bowl. That was the most boring Super Bowl I've ever seen in my life. 13-7.
My team has won 1 playoff game in the last 50 years. It was before I was even conceived. What are you talking about? It was a boring Super Bowl. We've ruined Barry Sanders' career. We've ruined Calvin Johnson's career. Matthew Stafford literally broke his back after years of just carrying this franchise. And now I got to watch the team go man coverage every Sunday and then go, oh, coach, I think we got some crossing routes going on. Man. And I got to watch a Packers team with Geronimo Allison getting 10 catches a game. And you're talking about a boring Super Bowl.
By the way, you're welcome from Matt Patricia. He seems to be treating you guys right.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jake.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. And Bob Quinn. Bob Quinn, too. It's been fantastic. All right.
Never a fan. I forget what year it was. I think it was Super Bowl 53 year. I think it was 2018 when through the first 5 games they let up like 300 or 400 yards. I mean, it was crazy.
No, it's insane because it never happened in New England, right?
No, what I'm saying is it did. It was like Patricia's second. It was either his last year or his second to last year. The first 5 games he let up like 300 or 400 yards on defense. And I'm like, why does this guy still have a job? And then everybody loves him after he wears the Goodell shirt. And they're like, oh, I love it. This guy's amazing. And it just makes no sense.
We're getting off topic here with the questions.
Oh, yeah.
Since you're not, a Detroit fan like us, and you may have missed the news, did you miss that your former defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, who's now the head coach of the Detroit Losers, after losing the first game of the season to the Chicago Bears, they brought up, conversations and to see how good he is as a head coach leading this team. And somebody asked if he's good enough in the fourth quarter. Do you know what answer he gave?
No, I don't. I'm curious to hear.
He is responsible for one of the best defensive plays in Super Bowl history. He's talking about that Malcolm Butler play. He literally told an NFL writer, oh, well, I think I'm great in the fourth quarter. I'm responsible for one of the best Super Bowl plays in the world. What did you do on that play? And then the best gifts ever
So-
was his face photoshopped on Malcolm Butler doing the interception.
I didn't see that. I
You
did
didn't
not
see
see
it?
that. No, I never saw that. That's fantastic. I'm gonna have to look that up. That's fantastic.
So Matt Patricia, I mean, here's the thing. So they came out with a video after the Malcolm Butler interception happened, and they had like all the coaches, like they had Belichick, like they had everybody involved sort of with that coaching staff and sort of explained what went into that play. And they talked about how during that week of practice, they actually practiced that, and that they had a feeling that the Seahawks were going to have a very similar play to where Malcolm Butler had to do that. And so maybe, maybe Patricia had planned that out, thinking that that was a possibility. But that play is like 1 in 100. I mean, everybody knows they should have ran that ball, and it's not like 100% like that Jermaine Kearse catch is just going to 100% happen. You know what I mean? So Matt Patricia can't solely say that he's clutch in the fourth quarter. I mean, give me a break. I mean, it's just I'm surprised he even still has a job.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that right now. We're going to talk much more exciting football. But Jake Iggy is joining us from Iggy Sports Talk. It's James and the Agent. That's Jared, the Agent Nyland. I'm James Apex, and this is 12 Ounce Sports and Zingo TV, channel 761. Very exciting news that Tua Tagovailoa will be the starting quarterback of the Miami Dolphins after the bye week coming up. Jake, what are your expectations for Tua this year?
I'm being completely honest with you. I could honestly see just Tua meeting expectations. I mean, I don't expect Tua to have a Herbert-like debut. I mean, that's just so uncommon. And it's something where when you look at really any rookie, I mean, they're going to have pressure coming in. And they're obviously, especially Tua. I mean, we've heard this kid's name for the last 3 to 4 years. And especially in these last 2 years, it's all tank for Tua. And so everybody in the NFL is going to have their eyes locked on this game and expecting somebody and expecting something specific. You know what I mean? Everybody's going to have that expectation of Tua doesn't do this. If he doesn't throw 300 yards, he's not as good as everybody thinks he is. If he throws a pick, maybe we shouldn't have used that draft pick on him. We're really going to know how Tua is after 16 full games. I mean, after these first 8 games, it's really going to be a trial run. But I'm really confident, if I'm being completely honest with you. And my sole argument for that is specifically just because I was listening to a Pat McAfee show a few weeks back, and they had Kyle Vanoy on, and he preached on how well of a leader Ryan Fitzpatrick has been, not only for the Dolphins, but specifically as a mentor for Tua. And it was really cool to hear how, Fitz really, after each play, after each drive, he sits down with Tua and he really sort of breaks down what he learned, what he did, why he did that. You know what I mean? And it was really cool to hear, the mentorship was used how it's supposed to be used. And especially for a guy like Tua, to be able to give him that break, to really, let the pressure sort of, decrease a little bit. Because if you saw him week 1, oh my God, forget about it. That pressure would be through the roof. And he would have massive anxiety. You probably wouldn't see him play as well, especially with the new expectations for the Dolphins. And that's another thing that you really got to put into perspective as well. I mean, the Dolphins right now, one of the biggest reasons why they're putting him in is not only because it's halfway through the season, which it makes sense. I mean, especially after this report came out, I was like, holy crap, I can't believe they're starting him. But after I saw it was a bye week, like, it completely makes sense. But with them now having the record that they do have, with the amount of money that they spent in free agency, they spent $127 million. And all the expectation that they do have, especially with the new quarterback Tua for the future, I think that could play a role into how Tua plays. I mean, in my opinion, I think that in these first 2 games, you're not really going to see the best out of Tua. I think in the last 5 to 6 games, you're really going to see the Tua that you're looking for, because it's going to take him a few games to really get comfortable. It's going to take him a few games to read the defenses, to understand the pressure and that sort of stuff. And he's playing the Rams, you know what I mean, during his debut. So it's not like he's going to have it really easy. I mean, Aaron Darnold's going to be in his face. But, you know, he looked good at his 2 passes. If you want to base it off of that, you're going to think Tua is going to be the rookie of the year and he's going to overcome Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. But I'm excited for Tua. I think that this is a new beginning in Miami. It's long awaited. As a Patriots fan, you know, I'm really excited to see the AFC East much more competitive. It makes it fun. It makes each game. I'm on the edge of my seat. It's not like me seeing Buffalo or me seeing Miami or me seeing New York on the schedule, and I'm like, well, that's going to be easy peasy. You know, Brady's just going to help us.
Oh yeah.
But you know, I'm excited.
Must be nice. Need some competition. Must be nice. You know. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I'm done. But next question here. So did Monday night prove Dak Prescott is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL?
So, in my opinion, I think that throughout these first 4 to 5 games that Dak Prescott played, it really showed out of anybody. I mean, everybody at the start of this season has been talking about Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and Josh Allen. But I don't know where Dak was in the conversation. I mean, Dak was out there, even though he threw 50 passes every single game. I mean, he still put up 300, 400 yards. I mean, every single game he had over 350 yards. And so when I saw that, I mean, he 100. If he did that every single game, he 100% deserved the $35 million. Maybe not 40. I mean, I'm never going to go to that stretch unless they really heighten the salary cap. But at the same time, when you looked at what he was doing last year, I mean, Dak Prescott just really seemed like he was under a lot of pressure. And every single time he got back in the pocket, he made a lot of really stupid mistakes. I mean, I saw it 3 or 4 times. He threw an interception to a defensive lineman. I mean, give me a break. And it was just some erratic plays, and I understand. He had a lot of pressure. And when you have a lot of pressure with defensive guys who are like 365 pounds in your face, you're going to make some erratic throws, and they might not go where you want them to. At the same time, it's something where when you look at his performance, you really got to be impressed. But on the other end, if you have Gallup, if you have CeeDee Lamb, and if you have Amari Cooper, you're pretty well set up to succeed. I mean, it would be really interesting to see if a guy like Joe Burrow was just slapped on the Cowboys. How well would he do? I'm not trying to diminish Dak's value. I'm not trying to diminish Dak's performance. It's just the facts. I mean, when you just look at that wide receiver core, it's very impressive, and especially how well CeeDee Lamb has been playing so far this year. It's just all around a very impressive season. At least in terms of the Cowboys' offense. But I mean, the Red Revolver did not come out swinging. Oh boy, he seemed like every single time Andy Dalton tried to throw that football, he had his eyes closed. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't have a blindfold on under that helmet because it was crazy. I mean, he threw the ball 54 times. It's absolutely nuts to me that he's still considered a starting quarterback. And I was excited to see his performance, but I mean, it just shows that he is.
I think we lost Jake for a couple of seconds there, but
There we go.
I think he's the Red Rifle, not the Red Revolver.
I mean, you could go with it, whatever you want.
Fair enough. So I look at the Houston Texans, Jake, and I think they're pretty much in the worst spot in the NFL. Miami has their first-round pick next year. They're looking to trade away the pieces that they have. They got rid of DeAndre Hopkins. I think it's safe to say now J.J. Watt is not as amazing as he once was years ago. And, you know, are they in the worst spot in the entire NFL? Can you think of a team that's in a worse spot than the Houston Texans?
If I'm being completely honest, I honestly don't think so. Just in terms of really how Deshaun Watson has really played throughout the season, I don't really think that it's a definitive definition on how the whole team is as a whole. I mean, it's something where year in and year out, it's the same exact issues with the Texans. the offensive line. I mean, Dak Prescott has an overarching statistic that he is the most sacked quarterback since he's been drafted. I mean, it's crazy to me. And they still have Brendan Cooks. Obviously, that's not DeAndre Hopkins. They still have Will Fuller, who is surprisingly still on the football field after week 7. But, I mean, he's been massively surprising and has really helped out that offense. But like you said, J.J. Watt is still not the same player. That defense is not the same defense. But I don't think that the Texans are in as bad of a position that everybody thinks, just solely because of how Bill O'Brien has really operated that whole franchise over these last 3 years. Who knows if they are actually as bad as it shows in the stats, as it shows on field. You know, who knows really how Bill O'Brien, just his coaching style, just his moves, really hurt this team. And, you know, I think it's going to be really interesting for the Texans going forward to see who they not only pick as a head coach, but how that head coach is really able to mold the culture. Because, I mean, it's not like this team wasn't going into this season with tons of doubts. I mean, you could stack them to the ceiling. It's really crazy. With all the doubts that everybody had in this Texas team, not only because they didn't have DeAndre Hopkins, but also solely because what happened after the whole DeAndre Hopkins situation. I mean, when you heard Bill O'Brien just bad-mouthing him, I mean, it just, you don't really have a team come in with tons of motivation and confidence to play for a guy who they know is going to badmouth them if they leave. And it was just something where it was a long-awaited firing that I think needed to happen around a year ago for Bill O'Brien.
Where are you at with the Seattle Seahawks? Can they keep playing at a high level with Russell Wilson right now? I think it's pretty much established that if Russell Wilson continues, he's the most valuable player in the National Football League. Seattle's leading that division, and right now they're the only undefeated team left in the NFC. Are we thinking that the Seahawks team can keep playing at the high level of Russell Wilson?
I think so. I mean, the defense has been very surprising, without a doubt. It's not like people were really doubting them, but at the same time, it's not like they're the same defense that they were, you know, back in 2014 when they had Sherman, they had all these star-studded defensive players. But it's something where when you look at the MVP race, it's a whole different story now. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had a career worst game last game. Josh Allen had an awful game last week. And I think now it really just shows with how efficient Russell Wilson has been throwing the football. I mean, especially in those first few weeks. I mean, he only had like 5 incomplete passes. And he was throwing the ball, you know, 350 yards. Even, I think it was week 3, he threw like 5 touchdowns or something like that. Very impressive. But I looked at the MVP race before this week, and my pick was Aaron Rodgers. Just because who does he have? Like, what weapons does he have? You know what I mean? That's really it. I mean, he played unreal without Devontae Adams, excuse me. And it's something where when you really look at that Seahawks team, I mean, obviously Wilson has Metcalf. I mean, he has Lockett. And especially if they get AB, who knows how he's going to come back? I mean, that's obviously just a speculation, but you saw that report as well. It's going to be really interesting if they do get AB, how this team is going to look for the next 8 weeks. And also, now that I remembered, doesn't AB have how many games is he suspended when he comes back?
It's 8 games, but that was given at the beginning of the season. So he can technically come back to a team on week 9. And right now we are in week 7 starting tomorrow.
Right. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, I just didn't know if that suspension would apply if he got signed by a team like right now. But, you know, it'll be really interesting how he's really going to be able to change not only that roster, but that whole offense, because he's going to have to come into that whatever new team he signs with a whole new mindset, because he needs to get that cocky attitude out of there. He's going to be back on the streets very quick.
Yeah, before we let you go, Jake, real quick, give me one team that you think is very overrated in the NFL, and then one team that you think is very underrated in the NFL.
So our one overrated team is the Buffalo Bills. So going into this season, the Buffalo Bills were the favorites for the AFC East, and their defenses looked really awful in my opinion. I mean, I even picked them for my fantasy team because they were a top 3 offense. Excuse me, I meant defense. I picked them as my defense for fantasy because they were a top 3 defense last year, and I've been obviously very disappointed in terms of fantasy, but just in general. I mean, they've blown some huge leads in the first few weeks, and it's really hurt them down the line. I mean, obviously, we're seeing their record; they're still 4-2. But at the same time, when your defense is playing like that, and you have a guy where it's kind of a toss up in Josh Allen if he's gonna make a stupid turnover or not. I mean, he's so good at that. It just seems like he just finds the worst times to get a turnover, and he's like, yeah, I'll just throw it up and see who catches it, and it has to be a defender. So, in my opinion, it's obviously the Bills, just because everybody had such high hopes for them after they traded for Stephon Diggs, and even though they have a 4-2 record, they looked horrendous last week. And then from my underrated team, I got the Raiders. So the Raiders are my underrated team. And in my opinion, honestly, Derek Carr, if you had to pick one of the most improved players of this season, I think it's Derek Carr. I mean, he has a career high completion percentage. I also looked at his QBR. It's up 15 points, which is crazy. And it's something where when you look at that defense, I mean, even though in statistic-wise they're below average just in terms of the overall league, but they've really played well. And when you saw what they were able to do not only against the Patriots, I mean, they made it super close against the Patriots, and they beat the Chiefs. So I think that they're definitely my underrated team.
Thank you very much, Jake, Iggy Sports Talk. Check them out. Thanks for joining us, man.
Appreciate it. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you very much, Jake. That's Jake, Iggy Sports Talk. You can find him on Twitter at Iggy Sports Talk. Jared, you're going to tell the people about Amazon and BetMyBookie, and then we're going to have a very fun hypothetical list that I came up with. It's going to be exciting.
All right, sounds good, JP. Well, we've got sports back pretty much every day now. And if you want to support the 12-ounce sports team, there's an easy way to get in on the action. 12-ounce sports is going to hook you up with a crazy deal when you sign up and make your first deposit on mybookie.ag. mybookie.ag. When you make that first deposit on mybookie.ag, they'll match your first deposit up to $1,000 when you punch in that promo code 12-ounce sports. That's 12-ounce sports when signing up on mybookie.ag to get your deposit matched up to $1,000. And as always, remember to always gamble responsibly. Now, we all shop on Amazon and make Jeff Bezos a bunch of money, right? Well, next time you're planning on buying something there, go to 12ouncesportsradio.com/Amazon and help support our show and 12-ounce sports. It's that simple. All you have to do is go to 12ouncesportsradio.com/Amazon. Apologies there, everyone. Looked like we had some technical difficulties. But as I was saying, all you have to do is go to 12ouncesportsradio.com/Amazon and it will redirect you to the site and you can shop that way. That's 12ouncesportsradio.com/Amazon. JP, it looks like you're back. Little technical difficulties there, but we got you back, right?
I think we're good. Just a little blurb out of the Zoom. I'm pretty sure everyone's used to video chatting being difficult. I mean, we've done it for the last 7 months.
Yeah.
I assume we're not the only two to have problems with it.
No, I put in the credit card there, JP, to upgrade the time meeting, and it just didn't. It wouldn't read it or something. I don't know what happened there, but All right, JP. Well, it's the last third of the show here. Just you and I. Big thanks to Jake for joining us and talking some football. It's always nice to get some different voices on here and things like that. So that's always nice to get a couple of fresh takes. He was really, really rubbing in the wounds of Super Bowls, and he didn't even really care that they won the last Super Bowl. But other than that, I liked him.
It's kind of amazing to me how you find these fan bases who, they had this one bad year, and, it's terrible. The Red Sox weren't able to make it to the playoffs this year. It's like, do you realize what other fan bases go through? Like, do you realize, what is happening? The last championship won in the city of Detroit was 2008. The last championship the city went to was 2012 with the Tigers. 8 years, no championship. And if I'm right on
12
this,
years, no championship.
8 years without going to a championship.
Oh, okay. You're counting that too. I'm sorry.
I think it's been 7 years since we've won a playoff game or series.
I think was the last one. No, because did the Tigers win a series in 2014? They definitely did.
Then it's been 6.
Still,
the point is,
I get what you're saying. Yes.
The Patriots are 2-3, and this guy has no idea what to do with himself. This guy's having such a terrible time, and his Patriots are 2-3. I think it's funny, some of these guys and girls who don't realize where their sports teams are. It gets a lot worse. That's how I'll end that. It gets a lot worse.
I would agree. All right, JP, let's jump into the last segment of the show.
Yeah, I got something good for you, I think. So,
all right.
Le'Veon Bell is now a Chief. Antonio Brown's shopping with the Seahawks. It's basically just Madden all-franchise team now. And it got me thinking, okay? And I'm thinking about, what if I put one skill player on a team? Could I make them one of the best teams in the NFL or the best team in the NFL? So I got a list here, and it's just one move. It's just one skill player. Because we know the NFL is more of an offensive league now. And so I was looking at skill players, and I'm like, where can I put these guys to make their teams just completely unbeatable? So we have no changes to the defense at all, okay?
All right.
And I'm going to give you, you have to rate between 1 to 10. 10 being they would be top 5 in the NFL. 1 being it makes the team worse. So I think this is going to be fun, but this is completely hypothetical. So what I mean by that is if you go, well, he's got a contract for 2 years, that completely hypothetical, okay?
All right. Sounds good.
So my first one is San Francisco 49ers tight end George Kittle goes to the Tennessee Titans. 1 to 10, what do you think about it?
10. They probably, you're strong off the gate here, pal. I think they turn that offense into an entirely different beast. Not only do you have one of the best running games in the league still, you also make I would say, above average passing game be an excellent passing game. So I really think George Kittle would be a fantastic addition to the Titans. And honestly, I mean, all these guys you really have are a good addition to any team, really. But, I mean, I think George Kittle is by far, in a way, the best one of those just because, I mean, he's such a good player, and he would be an absolute beast alongside A.J. Brown with Ryan Tannehill throwing him the ball. So
it's exactly what I was thinking. So you give George Kittle to the Titans 10, they'd probably be the best team or one of the best teams in the NFL, which the Titans already are arguably one of the best teams in the NFL right now. My next one is New Orleans Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas goes to the Chicago Bears. 1 out of 10.
I think this one could shock you and some people a little bit. I'm going to say a 5. And the reason I say a 5 is because it has nothing to do with Michael Thomas. It's all solely based on the quarterback play. And I just, I think he helps Nick Foles, obviously, or Mitch Trubisky, if that's ever a thing again. It helps them, but I don't think it makes these two guys this, fantastic quarterback. You're gonna get some more yards and some more catches out of them, but at the end of the day, you're still going to overthrow him probably 4 times a game for a touchdown. So I'll give it a 5.
That's fair. I mean, it's your rankings right now. I just came up with the list.
Oh, yeah.
My thinking with the Bears is Allen Robinson and Michael Thomas on the same team. But if you have a bad, accurate quarterback, then I guess it doesn't matter much.
Yeah, that's kind of what was my thinking with that one. So
Okay, my third one here, DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals, heads to the Las Vegas Raiders.
absolutely love this one. And I know you said a 10's top 5 in the NFL, so I'm gonna give it a solid 9. I think the Raiders are already taking a step forward, and I thought it was a really good pick by Jake, picking them as an underrated team because I've liked the Raiders all year. They've beaten some pretty good teams already as well, including the Saints and especially the Chiefs 2 weeks ago. So that was a huge win for them. I think we've already seen what the addition of Henry Ruggs has done to that offense. So if you throw in then DeAndre Hopkins on top of that, I mean, who's the number one corners on Hopkins? So that means you're telling me the number 2 guy / a slot guy might even be on Henry Ruggs. Like, that's unfair. Like, you can't. I don't know. Like, you just have to run 2 deep safeties the entire game because you don't have enough people to double cover both of them. And if you just double cover one, the other guy's going to beat you. So you'd have to play two deep high safeties, and then you could just pound Josh Jacobs up the middle. I mean, I think it would really that would absolutely open, just the floodgates would come out with that team on offense, adding DeAndre Hopkins.
All right, you're giving that one a 9. You know, it's kind of a shame, and it isn't a shame at the same time that the NFL has a salary cap. You know, we could really turn this into like the New York Yankees a little bit for football.
It'd be so fun, but I think it would just get boring because it'd be blowout after blowout.
So number 4 here on my list, you gave George Kittle to the Tennessee Titans a 10, so which means you loved it. Michael Thomas to the Bears a 5, and DeAndre Hopkins to the Las Vegas Raiders a 9. My next one is Zach Ertz to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, JP, two years ago, man, I'd have been all over this. All over it. 10 out of 10. I'm going to say like a 2.
Oh.
Because I don't think it really matters. I don't even know if you gave the Pittsburgh Steelers the best tight end on the Philadelphia Eagles at this point.
Wow.
I think Dallas Goedert's a very good tight end, and I think he's already partially taken over Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz just has not looked anything like the normal Zach Ertz of late. And he's getting older, injuries are building up and things like that, and sure, I don't think you definitely don't get worse by just adding him, but you're not really doing anything special either.
Fair enough. I was kind of shocked with your answer with that one, but I guess that's maybe that's the worst one on the list. So we continue here. Miami Dolphins wide receiver Devontae Parker goes to the Green Bay Packers. 1 out of 10.
I'll give this one a 6. I'll give this one a 6. I think Devontae Parker's a really nice wide receiver. I think he'd be a great complement to a true number 1 wide receiver. That's the thing with Devontae Parker. I think he's really, really good, but I don't think he can be the number 1 guy on a Super Bowl contending team. So if you make Devontae Adams that number 1 guy, well then Devontae Parker is going to be the best number 2 wide receiver in the league. So I think it would really help Aaron Rodgers. Now I think you also have to look at the fact is I don't think the wide receiver core is exactly what is stopping that team from being that successful or like even better. I think when the offense struggles, it's because of Aaron Rodgers decreasing in and play over time, basically. But I think it would help him a lot. And I think it could even open up some more easier underneath routes. Devontae Parker's really good at the underneath routes, slant routes. He's good at the deep ball too, but I think he could add a little bit more juice there on the short balls.
You have a 6 to Devontae Parker to the Green Bay Packers. My next one for you is New Orleans Saints running back Alvin Kamara goes to the Seattle Seahawks. 1 through 10.
10, 10. Throw another 10, and why not one more 10 in there? Because I think
I got 4 10s.
my God, that offense would be just incredible to watch. I don't think I would ever skip a Seahawks game. I mean, Russell Wilson and Alvin Kamara is the 1-2 combo. Throwing DK Metcalf in that trio. Then at that point, man, oh man, it'd be fun to watch. And really, I wouldn't be even as excited to watch Kamara in the running game there, which I think it would be very solid, just like it is in New Orleans. But the passing game and the type of special plays you can run with Kamara and Russell Wilson, like Kamara has a mobile quarterback alongside him compared to probably one of the slowest guys in the NFL and Drew Brees. Like, man, they could run some special plays. And I think you could see something along like what you saw with like Baltimore last year where just nobody knew what to do. Like you couldn't figure it out. And I think it'd be something along those lines.
Giving a 10 to Alvin Kamara to the Seattle Seahawks. My next one for you here. Cleveland Browns wide receiver Jarvis Landry goes to the Baltimore Ravens. 1 through 10.
I'm going to go. This is another low one of mine. I kind of had 2 low ones. I'll say a 3. I like it better than the Zach Ertz move, but it doesn't get the juices flowing. It's just not quite there with Jarvis Landry. Now, don't get me wrong. He's going to be a solid player. He'll have 6 catches, 60 yards, occasional touchdown type of game, underneath routes, slants routes, are his kind of bread and butter. But I just don't think you're going to, exponentially improve that offense because of that addition. I just don't see it. It helps, sure. Does it get that much better? I don't think so.
Okay, I got one more here for you. It's the last one. Las Vegas Raiders tight end Darren Waller goes to the Arizona Cardinals.
Man, I really love this one as well. I'm going to give this one, I'll go a 9 with this one. And it's not even just Darren Waller being as good as Darren Waller is. It gives the young quarterback Kyler Murray a security blanket type of player. And I think you see with young quarterbacks, they love their tight ends. They dump offs, short routes, and the occasional deep route, especially with Darren Waller. So I think it would just make Kyler Murray that much better. And I like Kyler Murray. He started the season off really well, kind of hit some roadblocks. He's missing some throws here and there that would take him from a good quarterback to a great quarterback, I think. But having somebody where, rather than forcing a ball 25 yards downfield to Hopkins, can dump it off for 5 to 7 yards to Darren Waller, I think would make Kyler Murray unreal. And that's the thing, though. He's not only going to be a security blanket, he's also going to be a weapon. So not only do you have Hopkins as a weapon for that offense and for Kyler Murray, you also have Waller as that type of player. So he's really it's a great combination where he can be this playmaker, but he's also going to be there when Kyler's scrambling out of the pocket or just needs to find somebody for 5-6 yards.
So, real quick, you had 2 that were 10 and 2 that were 9 on your rating. I didn't even mean to do this, but you trade DeAndre Hopkins and Darren Waller from the respective teams. We have DeAndre Hopkins to the Vegas Raiders and Darren Waller to the Arizona Cardinals. Which one do you like better? You gave them both a 9.
That is really tough. I'm going to say Hopkins to the Raiders because I think their defense is a little bit better. and I think they're a little bit more ready to win now. Which, based on your kind of rating system, 10 being a top 5 team in the NFL, I'll give the edge to the team that's going to probably win right now more than the other in that scenario.
And we got the battle for first place here, which is Alvin Kamara to the Seahawks, George Kittle to the Tennessee Titans. You gave both a 10. Which one do you like better?
At the end of the day, I'm going to go George Kittle because I think the Titans adding George Kittle could win them a Super Bowl, where I still think the Seahawks would fall short with Kamara being an addition because of their defense not being quite as solid at that point. So I think the Titans could win the Super Bowl with an addition of Kittle in your scenario, not giving up anyone, where I think the Seahawks would still fall short.
What grade do you give my list?
I'll give it a solid. I'll go A minus. It was an A if you didn't put in Zach Ertz. To be honest, I don't think he's any good anymore.
Okay. Travis Kelce to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh God, give him the Super Bowl ring. Give him the ring finger right there, not the middle finger as you can see in the Zoom chat, but give him a ring. That'd be unreal. That would be just nuts.
Did you think of one, while you were doing my list here and rating?
What was that? I'm sorry, what was that? You kind of went out for a sec.
Did you think of a hypothetical here while you were doing my list?
Oh, I actually didn't, but let me see if I can get one off the top of my head. Maybe even using one of I'm trying to think of a running back. Like if you put
that was hard because I tried to think of running back ones, but it just didn't work out well. Alvin Kamara was my only running back in the list. I guess.
Ooh. Sorry to cut you off there. What if you put like McCaffrey on the Buccaneers?
I don't think it matters that much. I think the Bucs are going to be similar to maybe a little bit better, but not that much better.
Really? See, I think that would help them because it'd give Brady more checkdowns.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I thought of one. I don't know how well it would go, but, maybe Saquon to the Texans. But the Texans have so many other problems.
Yeah,
I think it would make them better, but I don't exactly know what to do with that one there. But running backs were hard.
Ooh. Here's a fun one.
Okay.
This could be interesting, I think.
Okay.
Tua to the Browns.
Huh?
Tua to the Browns. What would you rate that?
4.
Just because the unknown.
Right. Like I don't know what you were going.
All right. What about Burrow on the Browns? From what you've already seen from Burrow.
Same thing. I mean, I think they're equivalent, to Baker right now. Burrow may be better than Baker later.
I think Burrow's a lot better than Baker is right now, but.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I mean, with quarterbacks, it's a little different. It changes the whole, type of offense. I mean.
Well, yeah, if you give Browns Patrick Mahomes, they win the Super Bowl, no problem.
Well, that and it's an offense that's just ran completely differently. I could have easily said Lamar Jackson on the Steelers, and like that would have been different. So I don't know. I know. As we're finishing up the show here, this is James and the Agent, James Apex, and Jared the Agent Nyland. Jared the Agent, what are we supposed to expect out of Tua? Because Jake Iggy was on the show from 8:30 to 9. He did a fabulous job. And he was saying that Tua is going to meet expectations this year. But what are his expectations? Is it to go 8-8? Is it to look like a starting quarterback in the NFL? Is it playoffs? Is it to have more touchdowns than interceptions? Is it to not get injured? I mean, it could be anything you want. But what is the expectation for Tua? Because I feel like this, and I don't know if it's way out of turn. They're 3-3 now. If they go 6-10, I'm still not thinking Tua's going to be terrible, and we can go into next year, and the Dolphins have two first-round picks.
Agree there. I would say number 1 is stay healthy. Number 2, I think you hit it, the nail on the head here. Just look like a solid starting NFL quarterback. Look like you have poise in the pocket. Make some deep throws. Make the correct reads. Not only don't only focus on your first read or your main option or anything like that. Go through your progressions, hit some deep balls, make the right plays, and just look like you know what you're doing. Because there's times where in a quarterback's first year, I feel like there's always times where you go right away, this guy's not going to make it. But then you really, on the flip side of that, you can have a good idea that somebody's going to be a stud moving forward or a superstar, but that can always flip the other way, I feel like. So at least give us hope that you're going to be having a chance to be a superstar player, basically. Like, do what Herbert's doing right now. Herbert's, I think, excelling his expectations, but if Tua came in and did that, I think people would be like, wow, this guy's really good. And that's the expectations.
In a very cynical, analytical type of way of looking at things, I think Bengals fans and Chargers fans should be so ecstatically happy because Herbert's looked great. I'd argue he looks like a top half quarterback in the league this season.
He could.
And the team is still losing. So you could end up with a top 10 pick and your quarterback looks unbelievable. Because let's be honest, they're not going to make the playoffs this year. Playoffs aren't going to happen.
Yeah.
But, you have your quarterback and he looks outstanding. Same with the Bengals. Burrow looks great, but that one win is awesome. Because then next year you could get maybe the best receiver in the draft or the best left tackle in the draft or, maybe the best defensive lineman in the draft. And that's just the way I look at things because I think drafting is really important in all sports, but in the NFL, it's super important. There's a big difference between the number 5 pick and the number 20 pick.
There is. And if I could, if my bookie.ag is offering what position the Bengals go with their first round pick, I'd bet the house on an offensive lineman. There's no way they don't take an offensive lineman. Burrow would just he gets hit. Oh, look, he's on the ground again. He gets hit. There he is on the ground again. It's awful. And if he can just get a little bit more protection, he'll be just that much better.
Because this is why I have the Dolphins as they're in the best spot ever.
Oh gosh,
Tua's able to play. He's healthy. They're 3-3. They could win the playoffs.
And you have the Texans draft pick.
You have the Texans' first 2 draft picks.
Oh jeez.
Wow. It's like they're on the uptick to one of the best teams coming up. I don't know if I'm getting way too excited, but the Dolphins are in the best spot in the NFL possible, in my opinion, for the next upcoming years.
Agreed.
Yes, Seattle's great, but they gave up what to get Jamal Adams? If they don't win the Super Bowl this year or the next year, what's going to happen?
Yeah, no, very true.
Thank you very much for listening tonight. This is 12 Ounce Sports and Zingo TV, channel 761. That's Jared, the Agent Nyland. I'm James A. Paxson. We'll be back next Wednesday for a lot more NFL talk. And, of course, we'll talk about Big Ten football. With a couple, seconds left here, Jared, what's your expectation for Big Ten football? It starts this Friday and Saturday.
Oh, man, I think you're going to see a lot of ground and pound in the Big Ten this weekend. Quarterback's a little bit rusty, wide receiving timing a little bit off. I think you're going to see the football ran quite a bit. Might be different down at Ohio State. Probably will be different than that, but I think you're going to see Wisconsin's just going to run the ball. It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be cold. It's probably going to be 35, 40 degrees at most of these games and things like that, which I think is just going to be fun, and it's going to be that fall feeling. I feel like Big Ten, you get that fall football feeling, and you just don't get that quite like in the ACC or SEC, but it's going to come out this weekend with the Big Ten. It's great. The fact that I can watch a Michigan State game, Wisconsin versus whoever. I'm excited for that Michigan-Minnesota game. I think that's going to be a good game to watch. So I'm excited to have Big Ten football back. That's for sure.
Thank you very much, everybody. We will talk to you next week.